You should have said I math arrived and then know my math as cheese. Hey, it's Poisson Variants, your mathematical maestro and LaTeX linguist. With a very laggy model for some reason. But how's everyone doing today? Funny, the gum chewing isn't registering, but the math movement is. But how's everybody doing today? If I sound a bit sleepy, it's because I am. I am very out of it. But yeah, hey Cheese, hey Karma, hey Tux, hey Ava. Yes. I had a very, very sleepless night, and then I woke up extra late. Had to rush to get ready to rush off to work. Made it just in time though. So, big plus there. But how's everybody been doing? I hope everybody had a good weekend. I know I was supposed to stream on Friday, and then instead I ate hot dogs. It was very productive. Fix your sleep schedule. I've been trying. The problem... I think the problem is with my caffeine intake. I too often intake the caffeination in the afternoon, and I shouldn't. So moving forward, I'm going to have a caffeine in the morning, and then no caffeine for the rest of the day, and I foresee great headaches in my future. But that generally only lasts about a week as I get back to it, because I've had to do it before where I've completely cut off caffeine. Drink less caffeine, man. But yes, I know. It's on the to-do list. It's very much on the to-do list. Yes. It's one of those things though. You have to be careful with it. I remember when I was having research meetings during my internship. One of the people I was working closely with, every time they joined the call, they would have a Red Bull in their hand no matter what the time of day was. We would generally meet in the mornings. But yeah, it's just, that's like the research lifestyle. Eventually I did see them make the switch to coffee. They made the switch to coffee off of Red Bull, which is probably healthier. I don't know for sure what's in energy drinks, but I know it can't be good for you. Unless I get the zero sugar variety, so then it's automatically good for me. I love saying that. I love like picking up a zero sugar energy drink and being like, it's fine, it's healthy. See, it's no sugar. Green tea, that's not a bad idea. Teas are a lesser dose of caffeination. Still get a bit of a fix. Still get the caffeinated nicotine patch. I guess there'd just be a caffeinated patch. I don't know. Do they make caffeine patches? Well, I mean, they make caffeine tablets. That's probably easier. So I can wean myself off of the 800 milligrams of caffeine a day. In case you're wondering, that's hyperbole. It's called hyperbole. Everyone does it. I actually had a coworker who we did the math. So if you don't know, the maximum caffeine you're supposed to have per day as an adult is either 500 or 600 milligrams. I don't remember which, but yeah, it's 500 or 600 milligrams. And my coworker was always drinking coffee. He always had a thermos of coffee. Caffeine tablets are great. Do you take them? Are they useful? Is it nice? Is it nice to just get like a a little caffeine rush. Does it help that much? I should look into it. Don't truckers use that to stay alive on the road? But yeah, one of my coworkers, he was always having this giant thermos, this like giant Yeti tumbler. And so we did the math on how much caffeine he has daily. And he was he was hitting over 700 milligrams of caffeine a day. And to be fair, he had been in the Navy, and when you're in the Navy, he was like a nuke, and so he was sitting watching a reactor all day. The only thing to do while watching a reactor all day is drink black coffee, and so that's what he does still to this day. They help with ADHD. Oh, that's a good idea. I should mainline Adderall. I should make only 500 milligrams. Oh no, Tux! What are you doing to your body? What are you doing to your body? You need to be more careful. I think it doesn't help that I also don't get enough exercise, which in theory would help, I think, burn out some of that. 700? No, not 700. Over 700. I think it was 745 milligrams a day on average he was drinking. We did the math on it. We're just like, how are you alive? To be fair, he was drinking it over like a 16-hour period. And it wasn't necessarily pumped with sugar as most energy drinks are. So it was somewhat diluted and somewhat spread out over a long period of time. But yeah, how he's still alive, I don't know. But he went off to further his education, so clearly it gets you places. Exercise helps with it. It does. I need to get more. I don't get enough. I haven't been to the gym recently. I need to start going in. I was gonna go tomorrow morning, and then I realized that I have a dentist appointment in the morning before work. And basically where my dentist is, where my work is, the gym is in between those two locations. And those two locations are about half an hour apart. And my dental appointment finishes up right before I go to work. So if I wanted to go to the gym tomorrow morning, it would be go to the gym, backtrack to the dental appointment, and then go all the way, then go forward again past where I already was to get back to work. And you know what? The optimization within me does not approve of that. The optimization within me does not approve of that at all. So, looks like I'll never exercise again, just the way it is. Let's see. Before we dive into the present, why not go after work? Because tomorrow after work, I have a different appointment. I have a meeting. That's actually not a bad idea. I might go after work. That's actually a really good idea. I don't know. I didn't consider that. Going after work it is. Okay, yes. Thank you for the very simple solution of moving it to the other side. As always, Jay, you carry. All right. Before we get into our little feature presentation, which is relatively short, and it will only go as long as I can ramble on it, which, if anyone knows me here, I can yap quite a bit. That's half the job. And it's not even a job. That makes it all the more impressive. I'm just yapping to fill dead air and my dead life. So today is the math anxiety presentation. Why not go at 3 a.m.? Because the gym is not open at 3 a.m. unfortunately. My first year living at college, we actually had a gym in the basement, and I think was open 24 hours because it was just like part of the building. So, 42 subs it could be. in 42 subs and like 1,500 hours of watch time. Listen, I just need like 40,000 people to go watch that video I dropped. And you guys will be good, okay? Then I can make it full-time career. To make $10 a week off of it. No. In 42 subs, though, you guys do get to see my toothpaste. 42? I thought I had, like, 50 more, huh? But, anyways. So, today is going to be this little math anxiety presentation. Because right now I'm in, like, a presentation mindset. It's my version of a grind set. Wednesday, we have... So Tuesday's nothing. Wednesday, we have another little presentation. This time, it's going to be a small thing on probability, just like the basics of probability, because stats. A gym in the basement, was it ventilated at least? Yeah. So it had like windows and stuff. It was a full. Welcome, Apu. I know, I can feel that anxiety in the air. Biting your fingernails. Yeah. So it was like its own ground floor, because the dorm were these towers, and the towers were on a hill. So don't worry, it was full ventilation. It wasn't like a musty basement. It was just like the ground, the most ground floor. Which was basically, I think it was called like L1 or B1, but the most ground floor was a gym, or had a gym in it. No, yeah, it was a gym. Or was that on 1? I don't remember. The point is, if that were the case, I could have gone at 3 a.m. I'm sure there are people who were. I think my roommate did. My roommate was weird. My roommate would do this thing where, so my all right, so the little I've mentioned this, but you know what, there's new people, so I'll mention it again. So I got my 4 years bachelor degree in 3 years, because I love to humble brag that. In reality, it was because I had classes that I took in high school that were transferable. Anyways, first year, I was in my bachelor's, the world was ending, so I didn't have to go in person. Second year, I had a roommate. Third year, no roommate. I got my own bigger room. That was funny enough, bigger than the one that I had with my roommate. My roommate was weird, though. I tried to socialize with him. I tried to interact. I tried to be like, hey, how was your weekend? Or, how was your spring break? How was your winter break? All these sorts of things. That his response was always, fine. And I'm like, okay, fair enough. You know what? Not everyone's social. I can mess with that. Everyone likes their own little bits of privacy. I can vibe with them. I like to be to myself a lot too. Excuse me. But so he would then not. He was weird. I don't know how to say this. So he would not reciprocate conversations. And I tried to reach out a few times. I was like, hey, do you want to get dinner together? And he's like, no, I'm good. Hey, I'm going down to the vending machine to grab like a soda. Do you want anything? Well, I was probably grabbing an energy drink, but I was like, do you want anything? He's like, no, I'm good. Okay, I'm like, okay. I can respect that. I reached out a number of times, never really reciprocated. That's fine. He would leave. He was an accounting major, I remember that, but he would leave the dorm at about 6 or 7 p.m. at night. Oh, by the way, 6-7, ha ha ha. About 6 or 7 p.m. at night, in a full suit. He would leave at in a full-on suit, dressed up like he's going to court or something. I don't know. My man would then return at 5 in the morning. I have no idea where he went, and we weren't close enough, clearly, for me to ask. And so the mystery remains of what was this man doing, where he would leave in a suit at night in the evening and then return at 5 in the morning, still in the suit. What was happening? What was he up to overnight in a full suit? I'll never know the answer to this question, but it baffles me to this day. I even gave him like Crunchyroll login and stuff because he was a big fan of Naruto, but he didn't have Crunchyroll. And so I gave him a Crunchyroll account that he would go on to use for another 2 years until eventually they changed the login. Because it was my friend's account. Gotta be cult stuff. Accounting major? No. Accounting majors aren't cults. Econ majors are cults. It's indoctrination into a capitalist mentality, which is not even really a joke, but I won't go there right now. It was Men in Black. It might have been. Maybe he was so like antisocial because he knew that he couldn't form connections. If he formed connections, it would put me in danger. Maybe he was looking out for me. Maybe that was it. Maybe he was a great guy, a good Samaritan, and he was fighting aliens, and he knew that if we became friends, the aliens could target me. Hey, Kikado. How you doing? I hope you're doing well. If you don't dress up while playing dating sims, it's not immersive. So, like... Wait, why was he going out at night to play dating sims, then? No! I don't get you. I'm very confused. But yeah, so... Weird guy. And he... didn't even say goodbye to me when he moved out. It was weird. Like, his brother came in to help him move out his stuff, and he didn't introduce me, he didn't say anything, he just moved all of his stuff out without a single goodbye, without a single word. And I'm like, okay. You're tired and hate socializing? Me too. Well, I'm tired because I slept poorly as per usual, but slept really bad. I would say, you know, that the socializing gets better on my end because I have an anime boy avatar. It keeps me protected. Safety fist. Yeah, no. Then on my final year, I just lived alone in my own big room. Sounds like a perfect roommate. Well, it was yes and no. Ultimately, we did vibe. We vibed because we ignored each other. But I feel like it's weird to not... Okay, so this is the thing that gets me. If I ask you how your weekend was, and you go, "That was fine," that's good. I feel like it's not unreasonable to then expect "Mine was fine, how was yours?" People don't reciprocate enough. I was telling you. Real life socialization is awful. Don't even get me started. It's not like it's my whole job. But I was telling you that I told his lambda joke to my boss, and they laughed, which is surprising because my boss normally only laughs at their own jokes. Because my boss is the type of person who you will say something to them, they'll go, "Oh, that's crazy," because they don't care about anyone else's life but their own. Nice person. Self-centered person. Inwardly focused person. I don't know how to describe it. The point is that, yeah, some people just are very inwardly focused, but I feel like it's not unreasonable to expect a basic level of etiquette back. Like, am I crazy? Am I crazy for wanting to, like, a somewhat mutual interaction? How was your spring break? Fine. You guys go anywhere? Yeah, we went over to so-and-so. Like, we don't have to be buddies, but come on, that's being courteous. The last time I ever spoke to him, in fact, I just realized the last time I ever spoke to him was when I almost got into a fist fight with 3 drunk guys in a bathroom, in the bathroom dorm on my floor. Never been in a fist fight in my life. I was ready to throw hands, because they were ready to throw hands, and I wasn't gonna back down, over something really dumb. But they were drunk, and I was pissed. But I ended up coming back into the room, and I was like, "Did you?" I was just like, I was like shaken up. I was like, I almost got into a fist fight with 3 drunk guys. And he's like, oh, is that what that yelling was? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, oh, wow, that's crazy. That was the last conversation I ever had with my roommate. I got one. Well, okay. So it was I want to say it was a Friday night. It was a Friday night, so people were out drinking because they always are. And to be fair, my school had a bit of a... I didn't even realize when I went there. Apparently, my school was considered a party school, but it also had great education. Education. Apparently not great English, or if it did, I clearly didn't take it. Your mom is enough to send people to the hospital. Well, no. So I walk into... So something that irks me is respecting public spaces. You know, wipe your shoes when you go into a building. I'm also big on like holding the door open for people, but if you don't want to, fine. But wipe your shoes when you enter a building. It's a common space. Especially if you guys are sharing like a bathroom on a floor. Specking, splalling. Yeah, I didn't learn any of those. But if you guys are sharing a bathroom on a floor, then respect the space. Do not leave it in disarray. My God. The custodians are not your parents. You're an adult. Irked me to no end. So I go in there Friday night to brush my teeth, and the garbage can is knocked over. So as I walk over there, these 3 drunk dudes stumble out of the bathroom and are laughing to each other and stumble down the hall, and I'm like, okay, whatever. I go in there, the garbage can's knocked over, the garbage can lid is like set up on one of the toilet seats in the stall. There's stuff everywhere. And it was just like, okay. So I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna brush my teeth, and then you know what? I will clean this up. I can do that, you know. And then they come in. And they like the 3 drunk guys stumble back in. And they're like, oh my God, what happened? And I said, are you serious? You guys did this. I just saw you walk out. And they're like, what? We didn't do anything. And I was like, okay, yes, you did. You just walked out of here laughing. I literally just passed you as you walked out of here laughing. They're like, we didn't do anything, man. We didn't do anything. I said, okay, well, doesn't matter. Would you mind cleaning this up? Why? We don't have to clean anything up. We didn't do anything. I said, okay, I don't care. Please clean this up. And they're like, we didn't do shit. We didn't do anything. And this one dude gets in my face, and he starts yelling in my face. He's like, you want to go? You want to go, man? You want to go? We didn't do anything. And I said, I don't... And I just kept repeating. I was like, I don't give a or I didn't swear. I was like, I don't care if you didn't do anything. Can you... I said, please clean this up. Like, I wasn't going to challenge him on the fact that whether or not he did or didn't do it, because he obviously did, and I think he was too drunk to even realize he did it. But he would, and so then he was like chest bumping me. He was ready to, and I said, I'm willing to help you, but do something. And he like walked over to the garbage. Eventually, when he realized I wasn't going to be like intimidated, because he and I were the same height, we're both like 6 feet tall. Expect people to do something? I guess. Maybe that's it. Maybe I expect people to not be selfish. That's my shortcoming. Your bully voice sounds like a Smiling Friends character. The point someone's in a fight, they would lose to a fly? Probably. I probably would. The thing is that the thing that works for me is I can make my voice deeper. And I'm also tall. So I'm face to face with this dude. So I guess what my voice actually was at the time would have been, okay, I don't care. I don't care if you... Wait, how would I do it? Because I was doing the deeper voice. I would be like, I don't care if you didn't do it. Clean this up. You know, so it's deeper. It's more confrontational. I don't care. Clean this up. I will help you, but clean this up. But yeah. So then he grabs the garbage can lid and slams it on top of the garbage can. He's like, there, I did it. Are you fucking happy? And he storms out of the bathroom. So ultimately, it was really funny. At at the time, I felt like shaken up a bit, but it was funny. Did my voice change? I don't know. Did it? Did my voice change? That's for you to decide. If it did, I don't know. If it didn't, that's fine too. You see, this is my extra deep. This isn't even the voice I use in job interviews. No, this is much deeper than I ever actually go. I tend to talk with a bit of a high range. I have ups and downs. This is down, and this is up. Least threatening person on earth. I wasn't trying to be threatening. That's the thing. I wasn't trying to be threatening, but I was serious. Like I said, I've never been in a fight, and I have no intention of starting a fight. But also, I'm not gonna back down. Like, I'm not gonna be in a, like... I'm not gonna be like, oh, no, don't beat me up, please, I'm sorry. No. You're trashing this communal area? I'm gonna call you out on it. And I think that's valid. And if they want to throw punches, that's their prerogative. I just hope adrenaline carries me through the rest of the fists. It's my go-to. You like the deep voice? You like the deep voice? Thank you. I try really hard. I try really hard with you. Yeah, I don't have experience. Of course not. No way I'd ever... Listen, you can be confrontational without being aggressive. And you can be confrontational without looking to get into an actual fight. Confrontation does not equate to combat. They are not mutual. They're not mutually exclusive, but they're not necessarily... There's not necessarily a causation. There can be a correlation. But my point is that when push comes to shove, I am happy to stand up to the people who are being rude. Poisson's bass voice is the literal stereotypical nerd. I know, my only saving grace is that I don't have glasses. I don't know, man. Like, yeah, my only saving grace is the fact that I don't have glasses, or else I would be stereotypically... Well, I do have glasses that I just never wear. They're only for far distances, so I never really need them. I'm a sit in the closer to the front of the class kind of guy, because guess what? I'm a nerd. The math should have... I mean, look at this. Should have tipped you off to something. Guys were turkeys, they'd be... Oh, no. I would have gotten destroyed if they were turkeys. Listen. When you super kick a turkey in the face, that's the closest I've ever been to an actual fight, mind you. The closest I've ever been to an actual fight is super kicking a turkey like I'm a wrestler, and the turkey no-selling it like it's a stronger wrestler, like it's the Undertaker doing a bong, just like no-selling that. That's the closest I've ever been to a real fight. The turkey would have won. When I told this story to a coworker, they said, "So you lost to a turkey?" And I went, "Yes, I lost to a turkey." I absolutely did lose to a turkey. It's okay, though. The turkey was scary. The turkey would attack people. The turkey had a vendetta against my brother-in-law, so... The turkey... Poisson would lose to a blobfish on land. I mean, a little bit. A little bit. I would just, like, poke it with a stick and I'd be like... I would get too scared of it. I would get scared of the blobfish on land. It would make me uncomfortable. So, you're not wrong. I can't say any of that's inaccurate. But, yeah. Okay. So, after half an hour of yapping about whatever this past half an hour was about, I feel a bit more awake, which is good. Which is very nice. I like rolling my R's. Very nice. I feel more awake. Probably helped that I ate lunch right before this. Eating food tends to help things, just like how exercising tends to help things. But we are going to be shifting gears over to our feature presentation. And our feature presentation and I'm gonna keep music on because it's nice, is cropped incorrectly. Wow. Okay, hold on a minute while I fix the... Why is this cropped incorrectly? I said turn off. Hey, go away. Perfect. Why, thank you. Hey, Tyler. Hallo. Auf Deutsch? My German's bad, but I have no follow-up to this. Presenter. Let's actually not... What if I don't do full screen? If I don't do full screen, this actually might work better. There we go. All right, sweet. So I'm gonna move... I just realized that I'm kind of in the way because I was having the collab with Kikado. Or not Kikado, with Mew. I'm sorry. I did not mean to use your name in vain, Kikado. So we're gonna put ourselves kind of down here so that you guys can see the screen a bit better. And we're gonna keep the music on this nice little Persona jazz mix because it's fun, it's positive, and we don't want to be too anxious now, do we? Or do we? How anxious do you want to be? I'd leave that to you. I don't want to hear about it. Don't make me anxious with your anxiety. It's like a contact high, contact anxiety. Is that a real thing? I feel like that could be a real thing. I don't know, though. I digress. Now, today, Cthulhu? Is that the ancient one? I don't know. Today, we are going to be talking about math anxiety. Math anxiety, namely the innate discomfort that many people feel when math is mentioned, the innate discomfort that people feel when math is brought up on a quiz. One of the main reasons I actually became a VTuber was that I was upset with kind of how many streamers, be it for a bit or be it for real, were so bad with math. It was somewhat upsetting because I'm like, so either it's a bit and you can relate to so many people because so many people are uncomfortable with math, which is not good, or you're just all actually that bad at math, which is also not good. The most infectious anxiety, the side of the bubonic plague. Did you know that actually the bubonic plague was just an anxiety disorder? Most people don't know that, probably because it's not true. I know I'm terrified too, Tyler. It's fine. You'll make it through this. You'll make it through this. Right now you're this crying little anime character. By the end, fine. Contact anxiety sounds like a nickname for an amphetamine transdermal patch. I like it. Get your new contact anxiety today. Okay, so we have here. Let's see. Oh, as I was saying, one of the reasons I became a math VTuber was to combat this kind of math anxiety. Hey, Renella! I'm gonna do what I did from you. Welcome, Renella. Did you expect an unexpected plug? This is Miss Renella. Renella is another math VTuber. I've only watched a little bit of his stuff, but he's talked about he's done like an introduction to graphs videos. He's done law of indices kind of stuff. So please go check out Miss Renella. Renella? I don't know. However you pronounce it, but thank you for coming by, and this is your unexpected plug. So if you like me, because math VTuber, if you want more math VTubers, go check out him. Anyways. What if you're still crying anime character, but for a different reason? I can't help with that. If it's about math, I can help with that. If it's not about math, that's a you problem. But, so that was kind of one of my biggest motivations. So, let's just look at what we're going to be going through today. Here's our table of discontent. where we're going to be asking kind of 3 simple questions. And this is going to be a heavily ramblomatic sort of stream. So the actual slide is going to matter less. The most important thing is going to be what we talk about. I know, nobody expects the plug. Nobody expects the fish plug. So, 3 main questions we want to ask. 1, who does math anxiety affect? 2, when does math anxiety start? When does it really take root? When does it pick up? What is kind of it, like these different sources of it? And 3, how do we combat it? How do we beat math anxiety? Because that's the end goal, is that you shouldn't be terrified of math. Or really terrified of everything, except like bees. Bees are scary. They don't have to be, though. Prime example, Final Fantasy XIV, the critically acclaimed RPG, featured the character Honeybee Lovely. And she has good music. There is nothing more to this statement. That's the end of the presentation. Okay, so to start off, who does math anxiety affect? We have a few different options. You know, does math anxiety affect the low-income kid? Here we have a evil Mr. Krabs. How dare I? Bees are cute. I'm not saying they're not cute. They're terrifying, though. Cute things can still be scary. That's how I justify my existence in a fist fight. I'll beat you up. I'll beat you up. I'll beat you up. So, here's low income. Mr. Krabs. Well, evil Mr. Krabs. Instead of... He may want money, but he has no money. So, these are... this encapsulates a large pool. This can be low income because of the housing. Like you don't get a lot of support. This could be because of where you live. Could be just suddenly you're low income, or maybe you're hopping around a bunch. Whatever the case, you're someone who doesn't come from a lot of resources, is the idea. It's me. Oh my god, Mom, I'm on TV. Next we have the gifted kid. I chose this image because this is what gifted kids all turn into. This is a fact. Undeniable fact. The gifted kid. And by the gifted kid, I mean the kid who easily, quote unquote, excels in school. The kid who is well liked by parents or instructors because they are successful. They get good grades. They must be really smart. They are going places, is what is commonly said to them. This is what they actually turn into. Does anyone notice a similarity? Me either. But yeah. Totally necessary image. Yeah, of course. This is definitely not just because I wanted to do funny pictures. So next we have the athletic kid. This kid goes to school, you know, maybe classes aren't their strongest suits, but you know, they're extracurricular, they you know, maybe they're in the football team or something. But they take care of themselves. They take care of themselves, and maybe they enjoy school. Oftentimes, we associate the athletic kid with, like, the popular group, and I think that comes down to where you went to school. I know in my schooling situation, it was often the case that the athletic kids were the popular ones. The people on the teams, on cross-country teams, on football teams, on the other type of football teams. They were the ones who were considered some of the most well-liked, and a lot of their focus was on their athletic accomplishments. Finally, we have the quote-unquote average kid. The average kid. The average kid is milquetoast. The average kid is not the popular one. The average kid isn't necessarily engaged in extracurriculars. The average kid isn't the one who excels like crazy. And the average kid comes from a pretty quote-unquote regular home. They don't have the fall, or they don't have the, what's the word? They don't have the things to push forward. They don't necessarily have the things that are holding others back. They just sort of are there. They're going to school because they're going to school. It's what they do. It's what they have to do. They are there. It affects everybody. Exactly. And that's the main thing. All of them are affected. And more than just the ones we listed. I just listed some examples. And these are just going to be like personal experience kind of and relation to people I've seen, people I've talked with, people I've experienced, and people I'm not going to say that last. Had to bite the tongue from something, not say so. But the experiences, and it's not an exhaustive list or exhaustive set of experiences, because there are infinitely many experiences. There are infinitely different, many different people, and we all come from our own backgrounds, and this is a very broad set of generalizations. Say it. I do want to. It was funny. The moment is gone. The moment is gone. Perhaps another time. So, but let's go over one by one how different people are affected. So we started with the low-income kid. The low-income kid faces a lot of hurdles. And these hurdles can be the basis for a lot of their anxieties. So for one, it may be that they attend a poorly funded school. This means that their education is not up to snuff with a lot of other public schools or private schools. Because, well, something like universities can be pretty, and I say this intentionally, universal in their education, like actual curriculum. That's often not the case for public schools from what I've seen. My experience. You have a somewhat diverse array of students who actually get the support that they need, students who actually learn what they have access to learn. It's pretty rough. It's pretty split up. Whereas in something like an Ivy League school, Ivy League schools, you're paying for the title. Public schools, you just straight up don't get the resources that you need. Go to sleep, but you don't watch the thing. All right, Ranella, thanks for joining. I'm glad you could stop by. I hope everyone goes check out Ranella. So part of this is then leads to they never get the start. They never get the start that they need. They don't get the access to resources that can lead them down good roads. Hence the unknown possibilities. And I say good roads, I mean the like what we consider quote unquote good roads. The successful roads, the financially successful roads, the big impressive roads. They get stopped from the get-go. You know? So if you're not taught with up-to-date textbooks, with up-to-date methods, with teachers who can give you the attention you need, because oftentimes you have tons of students packed into these classrooms, you know, that are 40 people. No teacher can give a kid the attention they need. So you start off without access of someone who can pay attention to you. You don't have the literal tools. you don't necessarily have other people around you who are also doing successful, very financially successful. Because again, you come from this low income environment, so you don't even know that you should focus on these things to grow. And then finally, after you do focus on these things, you don't have the resources to improve. It's a very, very, very difficult start because you can't get started. So from the get-go, you're going to be put into these situations where you're now expected to know things, and you have not been properly given the resources to learn them. That's one of the most difficult starting points for people when it comes to math anxiety. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Math anxiety, especially in the United States, commonly affects people of like African American communities. People of color are much more largely affected due to from this like low income sort of setup. Specifically due to, I'm not going to get too crazy into it, the way that neighborhoods are structured. This goes back all the way to like the 1960s and stuff. But my point is that it inherently has these kind of like racist implications that shoot so many people in the foot that, again, they cannot get started. I know this is really starting off on a really positive note. But I can't laugh. I can't not laugh. I find this hilarious. The gifted kid. So what hurts the gifted kid? And this one is the one that I was. In some ways I was this one, but in a lot of ways I was this one. You see, the gifted kid, from the get-go, understands a lot of stuff inherently. They understand what to do. They need the set of instructions once, and then it clicks for them. They don't need to replicate. They don't need to repeat. Then they can replicate the process without any real issue. They don't need to prepare. Average American history class. Okay, so imagine race. I mean, it's kind of true. Listen, that's the kind of... You can't have the history of the United States without talking about it, because it's still very much alive today. Anyways. So, they had the running start. These kids broke out the gate with a sprint. Math was easy for them. They had it wasn't about resources. It wasn't about anything. It was about, oh, I get that. That clicks. That clicks. That clicks. I can be 5 times further than everybody else. You know, they're still stuck at the first few steps. I'm already sprinting. They need to get that walking start. I'm, again, sprinting. The best comparison I have. You're gonna have to deal with it. So now, they've built up nothing to help reinforce themselves. This, again, while it doesn't shoot them in the foot at the start, they're gonna burn through all of their energy a few minutes into the race. They're gonna be out of breath, and they're gonna say, holy heck, I have no idea how to pace myself. I have no idea how to run. I just knew that I could go fast. I didn't know proper form. I didn't know anything to help sustain myself. I didn't carb load before this. I didn't drink water before this. I was just going. For real. Same. And so the first time they realize that they don't know how to run, that's when the anxiety sets in. They're halfway around the track. Everybody else is still in the first third, but they don't know what they're doing, and they panic. And then they trip and fall. Now, the other factor in this is that these kids often have outside pressures. They have these parental pressures where they are maybe unintentionally felt to be pushed. This is because they have been doing so well. They've inherently done well. but have put no effort into it. And they've put no effort into it. Yes, this is in fact an Uma Musume reference. You're right. Are you providing pharmacological solutions yet? No, we're not gonna go into the medication habits, but that's its own. We'll leave that to the biologist VTubers, the psychologist VTubers. But right now we're still talking about the depressing stuff. But they feel this outside pressure because they've been successful, and so it's the assumption that they've been working for this success. In reality, no work has been done. They don't know how to work, and so suddenly, but that pressure remains. They just weren't feeling the pressure before. The pressure was there. The expectation was there for success, but they didn't even notice it. That's the thing that I think I didn't even realize, is that I had, for me, I had always done well, and I didn't even know that I was doing well. I was just doing. I was just going through it, and I was like, boom, easy, 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 easy. And then when I started to fall, I was like, oh no, I feel like the world's on my shoulders. I feel like everyone's expecting me to do better. Why aren't I doing well enough? And that's, again, this external, sorry, this external pressure. And with that, of course, there's also the possibility of education burnout. The same allegory, or the same analogy. You're running, you run out of stamina, and because you've been doing so well, once you have to start trying, it gets really exhausting really fast. I've never had to study before in my life, and then suddenly I have to study every day? I can't handle that, and so you just give up. Why? Because you're not good enough. I feel anxious because I can't get it done immediately. It sucks. So that was the one that I have the most personal experience with. So let's shift focus to the athletic kid. Here is the stereotypical athletic popular kid. And you may see it says school exploitation. That's the schools exploiting students. We'll get there. And that's more of a college. We'll get there. So first you have this kid who is maybe more extracurricularly focused. In the actual race, they're doing stellar. They're doing great. They're exceeding. They enjoy it. That's the thing. They're having a good time. They're going to school, and the school is kind of like a tax. The school is a payment so that they can play football, and they enjoy playing football. It's a tax that they're willing to pay that isn't that big of a deal because it's just like a requirement to do the thing. It's like sign in a form, right? And so at the end of the day, their drive and their self-worth and measurement comes from their athletic accomplishments, which are 100% valid. It is totally valid to be an athletically focused person. I'm not trying to dissuade that at all. It's 100% valid. But then their focus is not on their studies. So instead of not having access to the resources, or instead of having it too easy so they don't know how to utilize the resources, it just comes down to they never do. That's not where their focus lies. And the schools take advantage of that. Specifically colleges. Happens at high school level. You've met people that only did sports in high school to get a scholarship. Exactly. You have people who are very physically fit, who are very athletically gifted, and they utilize that to get a scholarship. Because that's an opportunity for them. And again, that's great. That's awesome. You should be able to utilize your skills, your abilities, and where you excel to get rewarded for that excelling. But schools don't help support the other aspects. Something that happens frequently is that schools put too much weight on these, especially colleges. Colleges that make money off of stars, off of football stars, off of lacrosse, off of basketball, whatever. you get these schools that a great deal of their money and their income comes from these popular athletics. This was the case where I went to university, where the university was straight up on a hill. Now, this is going to sound like I'm criticizing the athletes, but I'm not. Something that happened was that the nicest, newest dorms at the literal top of the hill went to the athletes. The older, less maintained, and cheaper dorms went to the STEM students, which were coincidentally at the bottom of the hill. I've never seen a greater representation of the school's opinionated hierarchy on that. But the irony being that the athletic kids would be the ones who would be able to climb the hill easier, but the STEM ones are the ones who actually probably needed to climb the hill more. Hey, I enjoyed it. By the end of it, I was walking all over the place for fun. I wouldn't take elevators ever again. There was to get to the 9th floor. I had a 9th floor class 2 days a week on the 9th floor of a building. Every time I would climb to the top, and 2 other days of the week, I would meet with a professor on that 9th floor, and I'd climb to the top. So I enjoyed it, trust me. But my point is that they, in certain ways, were catering to these athletic students because they were their bread. They were their prize. The thing that they didn't tell you, so on the surface, that seems like, oh yeah, we're over the top. We're really all in on these students. The things they didn't tell you, and this is the case for many universities, is that these students were not given the external education beyond sports that they needed or really were paid for, or being paid for, or paying for, however you want to, whatever the case is, their financial situation. They were required to do minimum classes, and oftentimes would be removed from classes because, like, oh, I can get signed out of this because I have a big sports game. So they're being pulled out of this education for a sporting education that they ultimately, so this is a whole different rant. It sounds like something a psychopath would say. Listen, exercise is fun, don't at me. A whole different rant that I won't get into right now. But basically, athletic students, scholars that are like athletic students are oftentimes not given the resources to succeed outside of their athletic settings. They're not given the time to focus on their other courses. They're not given the time to focus on life skills that could be applied through other courses. For example, what's the chance that when you get this football scholarship that you're going to go pro? What's the chance that after you go pro, you make it for years and become a millionaire, become something sustainable? And finally, what if something else does? What if during a practice, somebody takes out your leg? What if during a game, somebody takes out your leg? Your leg may not be permanently broken, like you may be able to walk, but it may be damaged in a way that you may never get to be a running back again. Your scholarship is taken away from you. You lose your educational opportunity because of what somebody else accidentally did because they collided with you in the thing that the school was paying for you to do. You now have no educational opportunities, you have no way to fall back, and all of this time that you supposedly spent on getting this career has been wasted because of something that was out of your control entirely. So, like, something that happened, I remember, was that there was a case of students who would essentially either be training all day, so they'd go to class, they'd go to practice, their meals would be with their team, and at 7:30 till whenever is when they were allowed to do homework, essentially. But they had to prioritize the athleticism. That's messed up. They then don't have access to the degrees that they need. So how this all circles back to math anxiety is that when you get somebody who now has not been taught to do anything, then they're thrown into the deep end of say, okay, well, you need this to succeed. You need this to either pass your class, you either need this to So you can keep doing what you're doing. You can keep your scholarship because you have to maintain a certain GPA so that you can go to these practices so that you can make the school tons of money. Or they've lost that opportunity by maybe no will of their own. And so now they have to somehow fumble together getting a different degree without the resources that they need. So this falls less to a math anxiety thing and more of just a lack of education despite you being in a school. And here we have John Dark Souls. John Dark Soul is your average kid. John Dark Soul exists. John Dark Soul is a part of the mob. When they're bored, they scroll TikTok. They do their classic assignments. They don't do bad. They pass. They're getting by fine. Life's not so bad. Things are chill. Okay. They say, you know what? Yeah, let's go to that community college. Let's go to community college. You know, I'll pick up an associate's. Maybe even a bachelor's. Maybe I'll get a bachelor's in journalism. Maybe in communications. I don't really know. But lots of people go to college. Feel like I should too. So they go. They're not on scholarship. Maybe they take out student loans. But they go. They step into this minefield. They step into this minefield of educational chaos, as I would put it. They're not given the same direction that they were in their grade school, middle school, high school, whatever you want to call it. They're not given this direct line, but they're not told, and they're not really told where to go. Well, their degree requirement says they have to take, at least one calculus course. So they do. They don't know what they're doing. Again, they're not given proper guidance on it. Much like the athletic kid, the resources may be available, but they're not pushed towards them. They're not the ones that the counselors and the teachers would pull aside and be like, you're gonna do great. They were just sort of there. So, they're not praised. They're not pushed. They're not properly directed. They are going through the motions. They are, quote-unquote, average. And guess what? When you're not given the chance to excel, when you're not helped to excel, when you're supposedly just at the baseline, how are you possibly going to grow? I am sorry, I'm getting kind of emotional talking about this. I don't know why. I'm sorry, I think it's the music. How are you expected to grow? You can't. You can. How much potential opportunity? Damn it, sorry. Sorry. How much potential opportunity has been wasted because people just weren't... No one bothered to pay them any mind. How many people didn't even realize that they would have loved things? How many people were going through the motions and they just took stuff because they had to? They didn't even know that they could be placed in, say, a Psych 105 course, and it could be the most life-changing thing for them. It could start them down a path. How many people don't realize that if they had just been properly explained what a derivative is, it could have it spurned a whole new love of education for them. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I just need a minute. I'm sorry. Sorry about that. But yeah. They're not given the resources, they're not ever pushed, and they're not ever given a chance. So, now we have to ask, when does it really start? When do we see the birth of math anxiety? Because I've just explained so many different people who are experiencing it in so many different places. Is it in grade school? when you're learning your basics, your pluses, your minus, your multiplications, divisions? Maybe it's when you learn algebra. I can't believe I was crying right before this. This feels really dumb now. But maybe it was when you were learning algebra. You were learning this new fundamental that helps move things around and kind of changes the way you think about stuff. And it's actually one of the best ways to help structure our brain for new information. Increases our brain plasticity. Maybe it was in calculus. Calculus, the birth of a brand new concept. Kind of the first, or not first, another game-changing hurdle of math. Maybe it was there. You're forced to now be a real mathematician. You're looking at all these functions, you're looking at these derivatives, you're looking at all these graphs, and suddenly things start to feel a bit real. Or maybe it's in complex analysis. Don't draw the comparison. Maybe it's in complex analysis. Maybe it's in something graduate level. Where now it's really real. Now it's this upper level stuff. This real world application, this math that they're doing research on, this crazy stuff that half of it means nothing and the other half means nothing else. So where does it start? And once again, all of them. All of those places are valid places for math anxiety to be born. All of these places, math anxiety can show up for the first time. It doesn't have to have its foundations lied in grad school in order to appear in calculus. You can be great at algebra, and then you can be an imposter in complex analysis. So let's look at grade school. This is by the way, this is the Bean from Night Rain. This is Revenant from Night Rain. In grade school, you're taught foundations. It's when you're taught lots of ways to learn. It's again meant to give you that basis, no pun intended, for what you do. You can't progress without understanding this. And the thing is, what we don't account for still is learning styles. And the places that somebody would catch that and would say, oh, this person is learning a bit slower than the rest, this person isn't meeting certain expectations the way others are, is when you're young, so then you can start to work around that. When you can start to gain an understanding of how people learn, when you can start to gain an understanding of who people are, when you can start to work with those differences and build upon them. These are where, quite frankly, as I said, your foundations are laying. When they are, you can build up from them, and you can start to assist people so that they don't develop that anxiety. Early exposure to different concepts allows people to feel more comfortable with different concepts. If people aren't ready to be exposed to those concepts, then it's important to make adjustments for that. Not everyone will start at the same place, But if you don't take into account where people are starting from, then you can't build an additional level. The foundations have to be there. That doesn't get taken into account enough. So when people, when they're young, are like, oh, you know, I peaked at adding 5 plus 5, or maybe people don't understand negative numbers, or maybe people can't do their... I run into people all the time who are fully functioning adults who don't know their base 12 multiplication, or not base 12, they're 12 tables, they're 12's times tables, whatever you would call those. They can't do those. They can't do those in their head. They can't do those quickly. They didn't memorize those processes, they didn't memorize those patterns, and they never practiced those sorts of things. So they can't go further with that. You try and teach, you try and teach someone a method to multiply, to multiply larger scale things, and they can't wrap their head around it, they can't notice those patterns, it's very difficult. Try to teach somebody how a square root works if they don't really know their squares. It's not easy. The thing is, again, no one took into account the fact that people start at different places and have to build up in different ways. So next we have algebra. Algebra is huge. Algebra is huge for so many reasons. Some of the biggest ones are that it is actually one of, as I mentioned, one of the strongest ways for our brain to grow. And that is with the introduction of some new concepts. New concepts that really we use in our everyday lives. We have an order of operations, PEMDAS. We have something we want to solve for, a variable. We have different versions of things we want to solve for. We have quadratic equations, we have linear equations, we have vertex forms. We have so many different things that we want to touch on with algebra. Additionally, algebra is shown to have a large contribution to our brain plasticity, our abilities, brain to be molded into new shapes and ultimately learn new things. So, if you're willing to take in this new information, or if you're able to take in this new information because your brain has been molded by this algebra practice, you'll feel better. But algebra is the place that also you're thrown off immediately. Why the heck is there a letter? Why are there letters? We have to help people build the connection from why there are letters to numbers. Things are representative. And so that's where the things start to break down. If people never draw that connection of representation, this is representative of this. X is representative of any number. This operation is, you know, x squared is x times x. 5x is really 5 different x's. 5 times x is 5 different x's. When we divide something, we can chop out pieces of that. Those things can never be properly communicated or built upon, or those things can never be properly built upon if those aren't established concepts. Letters are in English, not math. Exactly. And this idea that you have to slash serious this dude, Tyler. But even that, this idea that these concepts have to be separate. A big thing about algebra is that we're trying to break that down. Algebra helps us understand that these concepts aren't separate at all. That application in one is the same as application in another. The only thing that's different is the wash, is the veneer. X plus y does not equal x times y. I won't get into abstract algebra right now. But in a sense, if people can't understand that, where can they go from there? So it's such, again, I know I'm kind of sound like a broken record here, but it's such an important piece that this is where a large chunk of anxiety starts to build up. It is a brand new set of concepts, and it is integral to everything you do moving forward. And it's integral to so many different problem-solving abilities. When people master algebra, it helps them out in the rest of their life. And the other piece of this is that nobody's focusing. This is why I hate middle and high school as a concept in certain ways. Is that it's a social game. It's a terrible, terrible, terrible social game with no way to win. It's just losses. You either hold them or you fold them. You don't ever win. All right. So I know that poker analogy wasn't perfect. Deal with it. But you're running this kind of constant. You exist. You know, middle school boys will be horrendous little bastards to middle school girls. Then you get to high school, and now high school boys will be annoying little bastards to high school girls. And that's just one example of how socialization is terrible. The best example I've ever heard of high school, or the best description, is a failed social experiment. And I would say that's true. So you have all of these social things in there, and that becomes the forefront of your brain. All people think about during these times, during this middle and high school, is social stuff. It's when our brain is the messiest, which, funny enough, is probably when our brain is best to grow. So a brain restructuring, occurs when your brain is changing. So maybe that helps. Maybe it's good that we learn it at that time, but the social aspects of that make it a mess. And so no focus goes on to something that's fundamentally incredibly important. So instead of people not accounting for the differences, well, actually very similar to in grade school, people aren't accounting for the foundations that need to be laid for people who learn in different ways. They're now not accounting for the fact that nobody goes to school and thinks about school. That's not true. It's called hyperbole. Everyone does it. But you have all these students who are going to school and it's not their top priority. They are going through the motions. And just like they're either not getting great resources, or maybe they're there because they want to do sports. Maybe they're there and they're just breezing through it, or maybe they're just there to go through the motions. You know, our 4 different examples from earlier. That you girls' phase ends by 15 or 16, or never if you're in Insta. That's fair. Hey, you can be a late bloomer too. Listen, I went through puberty later than other people. Most of middle school, I was shorter than everyone. I wasn't even getting voice cracks.
It's just a high little voice. I remember I recorded my answering machine when I was in 7th grade when I got my first phone. I was like, hey, you've reached Poisson invariance.
My friend called me like a year later and I hadn't changed, or like in high school, I hadn't changed my answering machine. And he was like, did your mom record your voicemail? And I was like, no. He's like, that's what it sounds like. Oh, wait, I actually want to do... Yeah. And then I went back and listened to it. And I went through puberty. Yeah, believe it or not. But yeah, and so I listened back to it and I was like,
hi, you've reached Poisson invariance. I reached Poisson invariance. Leave a message.
And they're like, who's Poisson invariance? And I was like, oh, that's my streamer name. They're like, you're a streamer? And I was like, no, this is me from the future telling this story. And they're like, oh. You're making a joke. You're very much... Thank you. I try my best. That's not true at all. I try my best in certain regards to be a mature person. But a lot of the times... I'm a big goofball. Sometimes. When I'm not tired. When I'm tired, I get like hangry, kind of. When I'm hangry, I get hangry. When I'm tired, I get hangry. Most of my emotions tend to revolve around hunger. Anyways. Social pressures. Nobody's there. Few people are there to enjoy or to take advantage of these educational opportunities. So next we move on to calculus. Your young Poisson for the answering machine on. The answering machine doesn't exist anymore. The answering machine is long since gone. After my friend told me that, I was like, ooh, and then I went ahead and changed it. But we get to calculus. We get to calculus. Oh, cookie! Oh. Wait, what type of cookie? If it's chocolate chip, not interested. Calculus is what we often think of as the start of college-level maths. With that in mind, it has somewhat of a stigma. It's scary. How many people took calculus and then after the fact said, math's not for me? I can tell you, a guy I met on my very first day of college who was an architect major. Yeah, architect major. We walked around campus exploring it together. We chatted for a while. And he was like, so what are you, he was asking me, and I was like, oh yeah, taking different calculus courses. What are you taking? And I was like, oh, this semester I have differential equations, semester? Yeah, it was like, this semester I have differential equations and this and that. And he's like, what's that? And I was like, yeah, it's kind of after the calculus, like Calc 3 is kind of the last one. Then you go after that. And he's like, there was a Calc 3? I was forced to take Calc 1. Afterwards, I was done. Calculus is when we call emblems. I mean, kind of. It's when we start to panic the most, because, like algebra, it's another big concept jump. I need to hydrate real quick. Sorry. After algebra, it's another big concept jump. And like algebra, so we kind of get this... Sorry, I'm going to turn this down a little bit. We get this kind of snowballing effect where if we weren't able to establish these strong bases in algebra, we can't use them in calculus. And what's commonly considered the hardest part of calculus is in fact the algebra, because a big part of calculus is, or at least how we apply calculus, is recontextualizing equations into easy to work with forms. Here's the kicker. We can recontextualize all we want, we can solve equations. What does any of it mean? This is another place where we fall short, because people get so caught up on the algebra that has been poorly laid as a foundation. We get all of these people who can't do algebra, who struggle with algebra, and they spend all of their time worrying about how this algebra is supposed to work, and they miss the entire point of calculus. Calculus is not about equations. Calculus is about pictures. There are not enough pictures in calculus, but calculus is about pictures. It's about these changes in time, it's about these functions, it's about these graphs, and it can all be taught with pictures, and conceptually, calculus could be taught to an elementary schooler. Not because it is easy. Not because it is easy, but because... Oh my god, Nep! Nep won't stop calling me the math croissant. Can Tyler, can you send a message to Nep for me? Actually, hold on. Is Nep live? Hold on a minute. Hold on a minute. Hold on a minute. Completely derailing whatever we're talking about. Is Nep live right now?
Because I don't know.
No, Nep is not live right now. Dang it. Let's see. I need to deliver a message to Nep. I don't know what to say. You know what? Just. You just hit her with the classic. I know you are, but what am I? Can't go wrong there. Can't go wrong there. I completely lost my train of thought. Oh, right. So, thank you for delivering that message, Tyler. Now, anyways. Start. So calculus can be so heavily described with pictures. Calculus can be so heavily taught with pictures, it can be taught to a grade schooler even, because the concepts aren't that bad. We put in something, we send it out. Input, output. That's our function. And then we are like, oh, this like change over a period of time. That's our function too. And then this direct change over a period of time, or our overall change over a period of time, then we start to get our derivatives. But what about what's happening underneath all these functions? How can we classify this chunk of this function, the entirety of this function? Well, that's where we get our integrals and whatnot. So, like I said, we build on all this stuff, and so many people have quit because they're so focused on the algebra. They're so focused on the equations, they're so focused on the things, and we are not properly teaching what is more than that. I actually have more that I want to get in on this particular topic, but that's going to be for another day, because I have a rant and a half that I have not scratched the surface of about calculus in colleges, but we will get back to that another day. That's another day's thing. So finally, we get to complex analysis. She said for you to figure out why she calls you Math Croissant herself. Is it because the French name? That's what I figured. That's the French name, I assumed. So here we have graduate level courses. Because they're shrimping. I'm kind of shrimping right now. I'm shrimping a little bit right now. I'm sorry. And a croissant looks like a shrimp. You're not. You're not wrong. I'm kind of shrimping right now. Your Calc 1 experience was just your professor telling you to memorize rules? Exactly. It's that kind of stuff, man. It's that kind of stuff that gets me. But like I said, we will go into this. We will go into this. Don't you worry. In due time. But, real courses. This is when we start to feel imposter, or where I feel a large place, imposter syndrome starts to show up. Imposter syndrome starts to really take the cake when you're surrounded by other people in quote-unquote real courses who should all be experts, as we understand it, who should all know what they're doing, who are all like graduate level. They should be really impressive. They should know everything. Not the case at all. Ask anyone who's gotten a PhD. Ask anyone who's gotten a PhD. They are... Imposter kind of sus. Calc 1 experience was the teacher was a family member and never checked your homework. Ridiculous. Ridiculous. Hold on a minute. Sorry. Okay. I was responding to something important. But so we have these real courses, these high expectations, imposter syndrome, sus. Everyone's supposed to be an expert, but nobody is. If you ask anybody who's gotten a PhD, oh, so you're an expert. So say I get my PhD in biology. They'll be like, oh, so you know everything about biology? You're an expert in biology? And you're gonna be like, no, I am an expert in this one specific way that I'm an expert in how this mutagen interacts with this treatment for this type of cancer under these conditions. I just gave you 4 different parameters that specify what I'm an expert in. That's what a graduate level course is. But we don't think of it like that. We think of it like, oh, we're in here, we're supposed to be smart, we're supposed to know everything. The thing is, nobody knows everything. Nobody knows everything at all. You never stop learning. I remember talking with my mentor about future education, and this dude was well respected, he was well loved, he was incredibly smart. He started this idea for a research paper that I eventually did that unfortunately he passed away before you could see, but he was amazing. And he was never done learning from others. And he never pretended otherwise. He was always excited to learn new things, and that's the thing. We should all be excited to learn. We all want to be excited to learn. And despite a rigorous workload, and again, that idea of burnout, and these high expectations in these real courses, we should be embracing this idea of new stuff. We should be embracing this idea of new education, of new information, and being upfront about what we don't know. This is really important, because the anxiety that may manifest here in these scary upper level courses of that mainly I see takes the the form of imposter syndrome is really just us needing to admit, oh, this is something new. I'd like to add it to my repertoire. So, with all this said, we now have one final question for our presentation. How do we beat it? How do we conquer math anxiety? If it's manifesting in Poisson, the cell line gets exposed to mutagen long before it becomes pathological. Any treatment doesn't interact directly with mutagen. See? Danny, you know that because that's your specialty, not mine. Oh, your mathematician can be references by memory right now. Is what we think we have to know. Exactly. And we don't. Not at all. So, but now we've experienced this math anxiety. Regardless of your background, regardless of where you are in the education line, there are these places that it's popping up. How do we possibly combat that on so many fronts? For so many different types of people, from so different backgrounds, different personalities, different expectations. Every background we talked about had a plethora of backgrounds that was underneath it that we didn't even go into, and there's countless more beyond that. The classes I listed is not at all an exhaustive list of places that it manifests. It can manifest anywhere, anytime, any day, for any reason. How do we beat it? Well, that's the neat part. You don't beat it. You don't beat the math anxiety. It sticks around. It's there. It's a part of you. It's a part of life. And I'm kidding, but kind of. And the reason I say kind of is to what I alluded to a minute ago. The anxiety is being spurned on by something real. You don't know something. Your brain is flagging that you don't know something. Your brain is flagging that you don't know something, but you want to fit in. You want to understand. You want to gain knowledge so that, like everyone else, which is what you believe, you can fit in, you can become a part of this larger collective of people who know math. Name every number? No. I can name all the reals for you. RN. Alright, did that. So, yeah. We need to step away from this idea of, it's terrifying, there's nothing we can do to overcome it. Instead, recognizing what it actually is, the warning signs it's giving us. Now, this is just my take on it. This is not professional, but this is how I interpret it. These warning signs are actually a sign on themselves that we need to access our resources. Here we have an Elden Ring YouTuber named Waifu, and she's gonna ahead and point out some of our resources for us. Now, your first resource, friends. This is an easy one. This is an easy one. Your people around you, people you care about, people you can talk to. Tutors. People who are there specifically to help boost you up. To help make things a bit easier. To help push you forward. Studying. Studying and reinforcement, huge. Friends can help you. Tutors can help you. Studying is how you improve yourself. And finally, one of your strongest resources, and this one's a bit more college-focused, your instructors. People who don't just know the material, people who are there to oversee you and are really there to make you succeed. It's their job not just to help, but to make sure that you succeed in a perfect world. So, for our final little section, pretty short, let's go through each of these. And I will point out that they're separated into this little grid here for a good reason. Your friends. A conglomeration, a group of people who all get along, who have shared experiences. Your friends melded together for some reason. And so when I say friends, I mean friends, I mean colleagues, I mean cohorts, I mean people that are a part of this collective, and maybe they're in the same classes as you, maybe not. And maybe this kind of shared experience can be they give you the support you need by helping you do your math. Or maybe it can be in the form of they just pat you on the back. Hey, you doing okay? They ask you questions. People you can be vulnerable with. People who are on your same level. People you can see eye to eye with and can kind of share this idea, share these experiences with, and see frequently enough. They're a part of your life. They're not a little piece that comes in and out. They're a frequent part of your life. That will be a strong resource. If you have someone you can work alongside or someone who can help boost you along. That positive influence from an outside, or from, in a sense, an internal source, because they're a part of that close circle. Huge. Very important. It's why group projects are so nice. And again, why I said the cohorts are such a nice thing, because you are focusing on how you guys can all succeed together. Friendship is another sense of that. Friends want each other to succeed. I can't say this for all friends, and I can't say this for every type of friendship, but this is a great starting resource. Tutors. Tutors are a great resource too. Because, while they are a step removed from friends, they are a step away from instructors and whatnot, a step or two away. The power of friendship, exactly. The power of friendship should not be undersold in this situation. A tutor is not just meant to, is not necessarily meant to be alongside you in the trenches the same way a friend is, but they are there to help you push you forward. They're meant to help push you along, to keep you going, to give you a little boost. You know, They're not gonna be, you know, fighting along side to side again in the trenches ref thing, because I don't really have anything else. But there you go. They're not pushing the Sisyphean boulder up the hill with you like your friends are. But they're patting you on the back, or maybe they're pushing you from behind every so often. They're giving you a little boost. Huge. And it's a resource that people often don't go to. It's a resource that people often don't realize they have access to. Because, unlike friends, friends have that vulnerability. You can say to your friend, oh man, I suck at math. I'm not doing great in this class. Say that to a stranger, it's a bit more difficult. And so it's a resource that is seldom, not necessarily never, but less often, utilized, taken advantage of. But it is a resource that is more than often provided. Schools are very big on tutoring programs. Tutoring programs are an important part because they want their students to succeed. And so oftentimes they do get a fair amount of funding because if a student succeeds, that means the school succeeds. And if the school succeeds, that means more people attend, more money, and that's the thing that makes the world go round. So they're there to help you along. They're an active resource. They are generally one-on-one, they're not teaching the classes, they're helping you out. And even if they have to help out other students, like if there's a tutoring center, which is not uncommon at colleges, they're there to give you that boost and kind of directly give you that boost. And finally, a reason that maybe that vulnerability is important around them is because they're often students too. More often than not, colleges will hire students to be tutors. So they know what you're going through. They felt what you're going through, even if it's not one-to-one, even if it's not exactly. It's huge. They will give you the boost that you need because they care about you, because they felt the same way that you have. So it's a resource that more people need to take advantage of. Not just support from their friends, not just support from the immediate safe inner circle, but to take a step outside of that inner circle and look for others who just want to help them for the sake of they were once in their shoes. Or maybe they still are, because clearly math anxiety is a place that appears all along the education chain. So, the graduate student might be helping tutor someone in calculus, and the graduate student might be feeling their own imposter syndrome, but they're helping the calculus student through their imposter syndrome, or through their own anxieties. So that when the student, if they decide to become a graduate student themselves, isn't going to feel that same way, because they've learned to be vulnerable and they've learned to understand this fact of it's about learning more, it's not about knowing less. Next, we have studying. This one's important because it's important to remember that you are the student. It reinforces that you are the person who's gaining something from this. You're the person who's learning from this. You're the person who's going to excel from this. You are the person this is for. So, if you take the time to reinforce your habits, to reinforce what you know and what you don't know, you can take better, what's the word? I want to say quarry, and then I wanted to say compartmentalization. Both are wrong. But you can get a better understanding of what you know and don't know. Mainly, it can help you, like I said, move at your own pace. It doesn't have to be dictated by something else, because you're there to understand your brain better and to help improve your brain. This is something that students often grimace at, is the idea of studying. Especially, this winds back to like the gifted student who didn't know how to study. That's why they failed. No, I don't want to say failed. That's why they tripped. That's why they ran out of stamina. That's why they had trouble in the second lap. Because they didn't know how to reinforce themselves, how to pace themselves, how to identify personal habits, how to build on personal habits. This self-study is a self-focused piece that is essential. We cannot only look to outside resources to build ourselves up, we have to look internally too. no matter how much help you get from friends, no matter how much help you get from tutors, at the end of the day, the exam is going to be your responsibility. At the end of the day, your grades are you. Your learning is you. It's not just about the grades or the numbers, the exam, the GPA, the whatever. It's about what you get from the experience. And that experience can only benefit you if you are willing to put that effort in for yourself. So it becomes one of your most important resources is your own ability to work hard, to study hard, and to put into the effort that you require, but also to put in the effort that you deserve. And one more, we come to the people who we often expect to see that effort, who that effort is often rewarded by. These are our instructors. Our instructors, again, this is more college level. Our instructors, but even in other places, are the people who support our hopes, people who support our dreams, who support our learning experiences, and they do so in theory because they love what they do. I can't say that for everyone. Again, that's a whole other bag of worms that I will get into at a different date. But our instructors are huge. You see, they know the ins and outs of what they're working on. They know what they're talking about because they're there to teach it to you. And to truly teach someone, you need to understand it. On top of it, they want you to succeed. I can't say this for every instructor. I know there are instructors who have like a no A policy kind of thing. But ultimately, their reasoning for that, at least in my experience, harsh graders are not there because they want students to fail. They're there because they want students to work extra hard. They want students to utilize all of those resources. They want students to improve as much as possible. They want you to succeed. And so oftentimes that allows us to build this powerful one-on-one relationship. This one-on-one relationship is not friendship. It's not in the trenches. It's not the vulnerability. It's not the tutor giving you the push from behind. It's not yourself reinforcing your own habits. But it's someone who you can look up to. Someone who can give you advice, and someone who wants you, is waiting for you at the top of the mountain. You're pushing that Sisyphean boulder up. They are there to make sure to cheer you on when you get to the top, and they're there to point out the divots in the ground. Move a bit to the left, move a bit to the right. Use your legs. All these pieces are great pieces of advice because they know the hill. They know the boulder. They want to get to know you too. Oftentimes, instructors are seen as untouchable or a step removed. But in reality, they are a part of the learning process just as much as anyone else, and they love the learning process just as much as anyone else, and they're integral to it. They can learn from you the same way you can learn from them, and oftentimes they're aware of that. Even if we don't realize it, and even if like movies and stuff paint them in a completely different light, in my experience, most instructors, in fact, do not have egos. The ones that do have egos are the ones that stand out, the ones that are difficult to work with, and even they have ways you can get around it. Even they do want you to succeed more often than not. I can't speak for everyone. There are people who suck. But finally, self-love. This will always be your most powerful tool. This is not a tool that comes from education. This is not a tool that is about textbooks. This is not a tool that is about good grades. This is not about a tool that's about tutors or friends or studying or instructors or classes or university or diplomas or jobs or degrees or any of that. This is just an important piece of life. If you can't love yourself, you're never going to grow. If you can't love yourself, you're never going to improve. If you can't love yourself, that anxiety will be with you the rest of your life. You hate that guy? Well, you got to start loving that guy. Self-love is what it is all about. And is the key to any form of success. If you don't believe in you, then no one else can believe in you too. And under the right circumstances, it gets you head pats. Which, as an anime boy on the internet, not a bad thing. So, with that, the only thing I have left to say is thank you. Take these lessons and please use them to succeed. And remember them so that you can look out for others who are struggling and you can help them succeed as well. Thank you. I'm still genuinely curious why Nep is calling me a math croissant. I'm very curious. The fact that it's not the shrimp thing, the fact that it's not just the fact that the name is French. I'm very, very curious, but that'll be a conversation for if I ever chat with Nep. But with that, I am going to conclude today's stream. And on that happy, positive, you have to figure it out yourself. That's ominous. I'm sure. Maybe I'll figure it out one day. But I have been Poisson Invariance, your mathematical maestro and LaTeX linguist. On Wednesday, I will be back for a little presentation on the basics of probability. I hope you will all join for said presentation. Thank you for watching, and bye-bye!